Hi guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about optimizing your time learning Japanese. The inspiration for this video was a couple questions that I got from my viewers asking how many hours a day I studied in order to pass the JLPT N1 in 2 years. So I'm going to start by answering that question in detail, and then I'm going to go into optimizing your time learning Japanese. Okay, so to answer the question, I spent 3 hours of active study on average per day, plus as much immersion as possible. This is just an estimate. I never actually timed myself studying, but yeah, probably about 3 hours a day. So what do I mean by active study? This involves shadowing, taking notes, making flashcards, talking to myself, looking up words, etc. So using more of my body than just my ears, basically. That would be considered active in my book. And then apart from that, I just did a bunch of watching anime, reading for fun, listening to music, listening to people's conversations, etc. So this would be immersion, I guess you could say. And I'm not really sure how many hours of that I did. It was probably different day to day, but quite a bit of that. Here's a more important question though. How much time do you have? Okay, so I think a lot of us are tempted to compare ourselves to other people. So we hear that, someone did something in a short amount of time and they studied 8 hours a day or whatever, and we think, okay, I got to study 8 hours a day. But realistically speaking, most of us have jobs, some of us have families. We don't have a bunch of free time to study. So the more important question I would say is, how much time do you have? Okay, so don't compare yourself to other people. If you can, compare yourself to yourself, right? So if you knew 1,000 kanji yesterday and you know 1,001 kanji today, that's an improvement. That's something to be excited about. Go at a comfortable but challenging pace, okay? So you don't want it to be too easy, of course, because that would be boring and you wouldn't grow at all. But you don't want it to be too challenging either. So if you hear someone did something by studying 3 hours a day and that just feels overwhelming to you, don't sweat it. It's okay to not study that much. You don't want it to be stressful or too challenging because that's going to just kill your motivation. So keep it comfortable but challenging at the right level. And then take breaks when you need to. There's no problem in taking breaks. If any of you exercise, you know that when you really make gains is when you rest in between workouts. It can be true with language as well. When you're resting, when you're sleeping, when you're taking a nap, when you're spending some time away from the language, that's when you really start to figure things out, subconsciously even. So definitely take breaks when you need to. And then the last thing I want to mention here is it's important to optimize the time that you do have, right? So say you only have an hour a day, say you only have 30 minutes a day. Well, you want to use that as wisely as possible, right? So that would be optimizing your time. That's what I'm going to talk about in the next section here. All right. So I personally use something called the 1-10-30 method for active input and output. Okay. So the basic idea behind this method is if you have at least 10 minutes, you can use that time to read or listen and word mine. What do I mean by word mine? So basically, if you're reading something for 10 minutes, it's very likely that you're going to encounter some words or phrases that you don't know. So you would make notes of those words or phrases, or you can make flashcards. So you're mining words to review later. This works with podcasts, this works with drama, this works with anime, songs, etc. Okay, so that would be a very active approach to input. Now, if you have at least 1 minute, what you can do is review notes or flashcards, particularly the ones that you made during your 10-minute mining sessions, word mining sessions. So the nice thing about this is that you can literally do this pretty much anywhere at any time during the day, as long as you have your phone or your deck of flashcards. I use Anki. At the time I was studying for the JLPT, I didn't actually, but I do use Anki now. I think it's a great way to learn vocabulary. So that's a good option. Paper cards work too. I spent a lot of time using paper cards during my studying, so that's another option as well. It says 1 minute here because we're talking about minutes and it sounds cute to say 1-10-30, but honestly, you can study one flashcard in like 5 seconds, right? Depending on the content of the flashcard. So definitely take advantage of this in between workout sets, when you're waiting in line somewhere, when you're on the pot. Sorry to be vulgar, but really anytime you have a free couple of seconds, you can study a card or two. So definitely take advantage of that as much as possible. And then if you have at least 30 minutes, I highly recommend that you write and edit something original. Of course, it's okay to read for 30 minutes. It's great if you can study flashcards for 30 minutes too. But if you can, try to write and edit something original I don't know, once a week, once a month even. I think that would be a great addition to your studies. Guys, this can be done at any level. So even if you're a total beginner and you just learn how to introduce yourself or whatever, you can write a dialogue between two people, for example, and edit it. I do think that the editing part of this is really, really important because it gives you a chance to be critical about the language and be accurate with the language that you're using, so on and so forth. And you're definitely going to encounter questions during this process. So how do I say this? How do I say that? How do I do this? How do I do that? And those questions are going to be answered when you go back to read and listen and word mine. So you're going to create this positive feedback loop of getting questions from your output and then answering those questions and input. And when you answer a question that you had, that's going to be emotionally exciting to you. It's going to be an emotionally charged experience. So it's really going to impact your learning positively. So I definitely recommend writing and editing as much as you can. Okay, to add to the 1-10-30 method, I like to use optimal passive immersion. So what does that entail? It entails listening to audio from your active listening and reading sessions as much as possible. So say you are using the Genki textbook or Minna no Nihongo or whatever it is that you're using, and you have an audio companion to that. Okay, so you study some grammar point from a chapter, and then you go and listen to the audio that corresponds to that when you're working out or walking or riding your bike or resting or whatever. Okay, so basically whenever you don't have to focus on something else, you can listen to Japanese. Okay, so the nice thing about that is you'll be hearing the stuff that you've already kind of learned, and so you get a good sense of how natives use the language. And it's also a way of kind of reviewing what you've learned as well. So that's optimal passive immersion. Hope that makes sense. You can do this with audiobooks and the corresponding ebooks or paperback books. You can do this with drama. There are a lot of different ways to do this. I'll probably get into actually how you can do this in a different video. So please look out for that one. But yeah, the point here is that you're using audio from stuff that you've already studied. Alrighty guys, so that's the 1-10-30 method, and let's look at some final thoughts here. Okay, so the first thing is don't be overly rigid. Okay, so 1-10-30, they're good numbers, but they're kind of loose regulations rather than rules, so to speak. So I think it's just a good starting point, and you'll probably find kind of the optimal number of minutes to spend on each activity for you. The point is that there is an optimal amount of time for each type of learning, and finding that is going to increase your productivity when you are learning Japanese. So that's the basic idea there. The next thing, guys, is don't take the fun out of the learning process. So say you want to just sit back, relax, eat some popcorn, watch your favorite anime or drama or whatever, and just not worry about learning anything new. You just want to turn on the English subtitles and enjoy it. That's fine. Do that. Yeah, do that a lot. That's great. I mean, it's something you enjoy, right? So don't take the fun out of the process. Try to find a good balance between actively learning and just enjoying Japanese entertainment or whatever it is. And the last thing, guys, is praise yourself for every small success. So like I said in an earlier section, if you're going to compare yourself to anyone, it should be a former version of yourself. So if you knew 1,000 kanji yesterday, 1,001 today, that's progress. Okay, so praise yourself for that. You don't want to be overly hard on yourself because that's going to lower your motivation. Stay positive, and before you know it, guys, you're going to make a lot of improvement with the language. Okay, so that's it for today. Optimize your time learning Japanese. Let me know what you guys thought about the video. Thank you guys for watching. As always, leave comments and questions, and I will get back to as many of you as possible. Alrighty, guys, see you in the next one. Mata ne.